Today, we are going to be making, actually, the Blackbird Mark III, and we are going to be talking about how the actual Blackbird was made in real life. We are going to try to actually make a Blackbird with a storage compartment that does give us the ability to bring experiments and scientific research equipment with us, which I really like the idea of, because last time it wasn't as effective. So we're actually going to jump into the payload bay, which does have, and you'll see here, a full-size payload compartment. And what this is going to do for us is, for example, going to science here, we can actually drop a science junior module in here, as well as all of our science equipment. Here we go. And this is what is going to allow us to do general research while in flight above any known location. So, let's get these in here. Now, I'm going to rotate these because this will bother the crap out of me if I don't. So, as well as I won't be able to see them properly. Now, I am going to set hotkeys to these so that I don't have to worry about clicking around, because while I'm flying a plane, obviously I don't have to be clicking around everywhere. So we are going to be making this a little bit easier for ourselves. And it's way up there. Okay. Odd. That's fine. I'm not going to have to physically click around on them anyway, but we are going to drop some goo canisters in there, which are sticking through. I do not like that. Let's move this around a bit. Beautiful. And then let's move these up. Perfect. Good enough. That is a-okay with me. And we are going to set our action groups. We are actually going to select all of these. So, log pressure data. We are going to do the same thing. Log temperature data. We're going to do the same thing. Observe mystery goo. This is going to, when I press the number 1, take care of all of these, including observe materials bay. And just like that, we now have our payload bay complete, and we can actually close that. And what I will do is I'm actually going to add another science junior on the other end of the payload bay. So I'm going to actually move these pieces of equipment a little bit more compact. Perfect. Move the thermometer. Perfect, even though you can barely see it. There we go. So we are going to leave this payload bay open for one moment. We are going to add a liquid fuel bay back there, and then once again we are going to add another science junior in to our payload bay. It's a little bit precarious. There we go. Getting that in there. Perfect. So let's add that other science junior to our action group. No, we'll have that one separately. That one's going to be separately if I manually want to do one while in flight or anything like that. So, we do have plenty of fuel in this rear section, as well as this one's not going to be, unfortunately, quite a full 100% accurate Blackbird, because I am going to have this sensor engine nacelle section, which is going to house 2 of our new Panther engines, which I do really like. They look cool, they're quite functional, although they don't necessarily have the highest thrust. There's another engine I'm really looking forward to getting that would, but we'll come back to that in the near future, that's for sure. So, now we are going to add our actual wings on here. This is going to start our structural workings really quick. Have these extend. Actually, I want to try something with this. I think it might be really interesting in a design. Yeah, okay. So we are going to offset these out until we can no longer see the black on them. And then we're going to offset these back. Yeah, we might have to work with that, because the actual engines on the Blackbird don't necessarily stick far out behind the wing portions of the plane itself, so I think I want to work with that, which I like the look of. So we are going to set our center of mass, our center of lift, and our center of thrust so we can actually see what is going on here. Look at that silhouette, oh boy. Okay, we're going to have to work with that real quick. Okay, beautiful. Let's jump these on there. So, one thing that made the Blackbird in real life really interesting, kind of an interesting construction, was that the United States actually sourced the materials to create the Blackbird from Russia, which obviously, ironically, is who the Blackbird was made to surveil, for lack of better words, right? It's this supersonic aircraft that absolutely, I mean, completely changed the way we flew at the time, right? Because nothing really had the ability to fly as high, fly as fast, or quite frankly, even remotely as accurately as the Blackbird could, right? And I say that accurately in a bit of an odd manner because the Blackbird itself had the ability to kind of automate just about all its flight procedures, and then the pilots, when they needed to actually do something, could take manual control. But a lot of the times, let me try to switch these out here. Let me see. Type A? Maybe that looks alright. I like that. But a lot of the times, the actual pilots themselves didn't really have to bother with much of the flight unless something very specific was happening. We're actually going to throw some air brakes on here this time. Instead of parachutes, which you might still do parachutes anyway, we're going to have to make sure these are uniform. If they are not generally in the same place, then this vehicle is not going to slow down as well as I would like it to. It'll slow down, but it might tip a specific direction, and we do not want that. Want that at all. Okay, that's good enough. It's uniform well enough. Not gonna kill the plane. So, this doesn't look long enough. Let's remove this, and let's add. Let's remove this, and let's add a full-size container here. Liquid fuel storage, giving us more length to it. Yeah, that's looking better. I like that. I like that. And as such, in terms of flying the Blackbird, it was, as stated by the pilots, one of the most interesting and impressive planes they've ever flown. Because, you know, in surveilling the Russians, right, the Russians decided that they were going to attempt to make an interceptor that would be capable of intercepting the Blackbird. Now, as you can imagine, because the Blackbird's going so high and so fast, it would have been ridiculously difficult to do. But the Russians thought they had really no choice but to try to do it because, well, you know, alternatively, they were going to get spied on all the time, and there's nothing they could do about it. So what they did is they made the MiG-31, right? And the MiG-31 was an attempt, and a somewhat successful attempt, at making a high-altitude, high-performance, high-speed interceptor that could at least attempt to get within firing range of the Blackbird. Which they did, sometimes. Best way I can describe it. But quite frankly, the Blackbird still outperformed these MiG-31s, just because the MiG-31s had a few design flaws that the Russians were never really able to fix during the time the Blackbird was in operation, right? And one of those things, and what really made it an issue for the Russians, was the MiG-31, at full performance, would actually destroy its own engines, because of the absurd volumes of heat and the absurd velocities. The plane really wasn't designed to perform for any extended period of time, right? But the Blackbird was. It was designed and is a well-oiled operated machine that could fly for hours and hours and kind of just loiter around. And the cameras on board could essentially read a license plate on the car from full altitude, which made it almost impossible to hide anything from. I mean, you could easily see someone's face, no issue. Let alone, you know, hiding a vehicle or a prototype of something or anything like that. So it was very difficult for the Russians, right? And then on top of that, the irony is, again, the Americans were sourcing the actual, what was I looking for? Oh, air intakes, here we go. The Americans were sourcing the actual materials to make the Blackbird from Russia, because it was mostly titanium, right? And the United States didn't have a huge volume of titanium, so they needed to find another source for it. Okay, I mean, we can work with that. That's a decent looking intake system. In fact, we do have adjustable ramp intake radial, of which I think I am going to jump on the bottom here, because I like the way those look too. Gives us a nice look. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we're gonna leave those there. It's a little more of an aesthetic thing. I believe these have more than enough. So each one of these is capable of fueling 2 engines, the adjustable ram intakes, and right now, obviously, we only have 4 engines, so, you know, we definitely have enough air intake, as well as these also offer the air intake for 2 engines, so we shouldn't really need all 4 intakes, but I like the way it looks, so, hey, we're gonna go with it. Okay, so let's finish the outer edges of the wings. Let me grab some more. Is that straight? That is angled down. I do not like that. Why? Please. There we go. Okay. Okay, that was weird. That is also backwards. Although that's a really cool design. I don't mind the look at that. What is going on? Okay, we're not gonna do that. Although it is really cool. I do like the look of it. You know what? We might go for a little bit more of a sci-fi Blackbird here. Ah. As long as it's aerodynamically stable, we should get a good... Yeah, we're gonna toggle snap back on here, because this is getting kind of weird. There we go. That is much, much, much better. Let's move this in line. Okay, move it in. We are going to adjust this. I do not like the way it is slightly offset. Wow, and just like that... Yeah, okay. Okay, let's move this one. There we go. Let's move this one. Okay, let's move this one back. That's weird. And then let's move this one out one. Ew, gross. Gross, gross, gross. Okay, let's get rid of some of that Z clipping. No, that is a space. We do not like that. Oh, I can actually solve this problem real quick. Ew, God, it's too much. Please. Let's turn off snapping, I guess. Let's get a nice smooth movement on it. And then we can actually fix this by offsetting the piece itself in. And then offsetting this inward as well. Giving us a better design for the entire system. And we're also going to rotate the delta shape here to line it up better. Ugh, Z-clipping, gross. Do not like the way this looks at all. Okay, let's line up these edges. Okay, could be worse. Don't mind it too much. It's gonna be very functional, but it's gonna look a little bit odd, although I think we can work with that. And what I might actually do here, so we are going to rotate this on an snap axis, because we want this to be perfectly accurate. Oh boy, that's an interesting design if I do say so myself. Oh gosh, okay. Let's move this now in, and line up the entire system with itself. Interesting. Things kind of ugly, if I do say so. Okay, now we are going to set this off of snap. We are going to move this slightly in, and that is going to give us something that it's more shaped instead of just being a functional, which I don't mind the idea of. I don't mind clipping, but I don't like when things clip like this inside the engine nacelles. It looks ugly. Ugly, ugly, ugly. So let's try rotating this instead. Interesting. Well, it's gonna be quite the plane, huh? It's gonna have plenty of angles. Not like the actual Blackbird. See how well these angles work out, though. Ay, ay. Okay, well, we're gonna leave that for now. It is definitely a more interesting design, that is for sure. So let's actually get these elevons on to their physical locations. No, that way. Beautiful. Oh, I like the way that looks. Because those are also angled, which makes this really interesting. Okay. Ends up being kind of flat on the edges, which I do also like, it making it more in line. Okay, beautiful. And then we are going to drop these on here as well. Go. Gonna set snap back on. We do want it more or less straight. Okay, we're gonna take snap off. Apparently that just makes it really dumb. So here we are. Beautiful. Kinda like the way that looks. Although I don't know if that's enough control authority, but we will find out, that is for sure. So let's get the canards onto the engine nacelles. Let's make this something that functions, and let's get this going here. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That looks quite nice. Now let's also get the wheels on here. Now we do need to make sure we line up the wheels towards the center of mass, or else we will not be able to rotate off the runway, which would be really inconvenient. That'd be a real unfortunate thing if after all this it does not take off. Let's get these more towards the center of mass here. And we are going to take it off toggle snap. That is not true. We're going to keep toggle snap on, and then we are going to manually adjust these wheels, their rotation. There we go. Perfectly straight. Nice and easy. That is just behind the center of mass. That should be okay. And then we are also going to put a landing gear up front. Going to rotate this around so it's facing the correct direction. There we go. That is theoretically a functional blackbird, if I do say so myself. And we are going to save this, and let's try flying it out. See how well this garbage heap works. Let's jump in here. I do like the look of this. Oh, it is nighttime. Okay, we are going to speed up time here real quick. We do not like nighttime. That is too dark. We are going to turn on RCS and SAS because I always do that. We're going to throttle up, and we are going to have ignition in 3, 2, 1. We are rolling. Let's throttle back a little bit. I do not want to be going too quickly here, and we're actually going to turn off steering on the actual rear wheels. We do not want it blowing us up here. We are going to start rolling, ooh. Wow. Oof, 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 oof. Okay, hold it, bring in the gear. It's a bit of a chunky plane, but this is surprisingly effective. And quite frankly, it looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. Now we're gonna try the air brakes. Let's see how well this actually works. Wow, we are getting some real speed out of this. Now, why is it leaning right? I do not like that. Okay, and we do have a service bay, and if we do press 1, which we are going to do now, boom. Wow, a bunch of science. Wow, what did we get? Wow, okay. Not bad. Keep experiment. We're just going to keep all these. We do want to get as much data as we can. Observe materials bay. This one has not been used yet, so we are going to reset that one. Leave that as is. Close those doors. Beautiful. So we are going to head to the island and land. Hopefully we can actually do that. And this full throttle, giving us plenty of speed and altitude. Wow. It's a nice plane, guys. I think this is very successful. Okay, so let's get a nice dive going. I do want to see just how fast this vehicle can go, and get myself a good test out of it. We're actually going to do a crew report as well. Nothing. Garbage. Okay, we are supersonic. Gonna start pulling up. Not that much command authority. Air brakes. Ugh! Ooh, gross. Okay, it really locks up at high speed. So we are going to make a little modification here. Revert to space plane hangar. This should give us much better command authority at high speed. So what we are going to do, aerodynamics, Elevon 5. If you do notice that it is at a parallel but slanted angle, we are going to do this. Go. There we are. Awesome. And I do want the other direction. That's to line up properly. That's okay. We will move that in. That will function for our purposes. Go. Let's get rid of that angled corner. Move it back out. Beautiful. I like the way that looks. So let's put on symmetry mode. Let's unplace this and then place it back to have it in the right position. Okay, now this is going to give us much better control authority at higher speeds. Now what we are going to have to do, however, is we might end up having to change the deploy direction. But we will come back to that once we test it out. And we're going to increase the deploy angle and authority limiter. This is going to give us better control authority as well. Now we are going to do this one more time on the leading edge of the wing here. Do that? Which direction? There we go, okay. On the leading edge of the wing, again, giving us much better command authority at high velocity, which will help us out quite a bit. There we go, and just like that, we have quite a substantial system. I don't think... I think I might put it on the leading edges of here as well, just to make sure it is all uniform, because, yeah, you do not want something that looks stupid, my friends, let me tell ya. Okay, which direction? That direction? Yes, that is correct. Is it correct? That is correct. There we are. Okay, and then we are going to move these in. Beautiful, and then we are going to move these here so they get full command authority. Beautiful. Awesome. We are going to now, to make this a little bit easier for ourselves, we are going to pull it off. We're going to press Control Z to undo. It's going to place it back, and then we can easily just add it back onto this second edge, offset it a little bit, and it is going to be perfectly in line with the other system here. There we go. Let's move this one forward. Perfect. I like the way that looks. A little bit of an odd angle, but that is a-okay. We will keep working with that. I'm going to save this, and I don't think there's any other changes I necessarily needed to make, although I'm definitely now going to add the radial-mounted parachutes. I do need... Oh, crew cabin. Oh, that's cool. Huh, Mark II crew cabin, like that. We are going to need the ability to deploy chutes if necessary to come to a complete stop on landing, and I do want to have 2 sets of them. So we are going to make another action group. 2 is going to be for the top chutes, and then 3 is going to be for the bottom chutes. So we can actually just press 2 and 3 on separate occasions, and we will have full drag chutes deploy, and they will give us the ability to stop on the runway. So let's try this one more time, and hopefully actually modify that. Ooh, it is once again nighttime. Again, we do not like nighttime. That is for sure. YouTube does not like nighttime. That okay, so let's check staging always. So remove these. We do not want parachutes on the same stage. And just like that, we are moving. Yeah, I think it did work. Hopefully. No, that is opposite, isn't it? Interesting. Deploy direction, deploy direction, deploy direction, deploy direction. Okay, we should be able to take off here. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is something, isn't it? It's quite the sight to see. Okay, so as those go down, I wish I could see the center of mass here. No, there's no way for me to do that. I want to double check a couple things. We'll go back to the hangar here. Open the materials bay. I want to do some science. Gonna press 1. We are going to keep all the science we have done. And we are going to wait to do more science at the actual runway we are going for a landing at. We are going to close this bay. We are going to turn in towards the airfield island. And we are going to get this moving. Now... see, that's the way it should be deployed to get more lift on the leading edge, which is why it is really odd. Deploy... oh. Interesting. Interesting. Wow, okay. Yeah, that definitely gives us better control authority when we deploy that direction. Logically, it's giving us better lift. Okay, weird. I'm gonna have to do some modifications on this guy in the future, but it is currently functioning, which I do really like. Deploy direction inverted. It's like it doesn't... it's weird. Okay, well, this is, I mean, a visually striking plane. I mean, look at that. That is quite the beautiful aircraft. That is for sure. And it's surprisingly stable. Even if I turn off SAS, it maintains a slight upward angle, but ever so slight. In fact, I'm going to let it go straight here and see just how stable it really is. Free camera. Chase camera, yeah. Let's jump into the cockpit. Oh god, that's an awful cockpit. Ooh, look at that. That's actually cute. Look at her go. Okay, so let's get into a good trajectory for this runway. Throttle down. Don't forget, we do have quite substantial air brakes to work with. Here we go. So let's line up for landing, and we do need... ooh. Okay, a little bit wobbly here. Okay. Oh gosh, I have a lot of command authority. It's crazy. Okay, so as far as this goes... oh, that is why. Let's actually... because these, quite frankly, are acting a lot more like flaps, so let's get these undeployed here. Beautiful, and this should keep us nice and stable. So, with that being said, the actual Blackbird, obviously not quite like this, because the Blackbird engines were full-on, essentially ramjet engines that were variable air intake systems. It was actually a rather impressive system they had made. In fact, there's really nothing else like it. So much so that it was nearly impossible to produce. Oh gosh, we are going for crash landing here. Oh boy, yeah, that is difficult to land. You have to be landing at a very high speed. I don't know if we're gonna be able to land at this airfield with the Blackbird. Wow, okay. Okay, yeah, let's go back to the spaceplane hangar. I do have a couple alterations I do want to make to this, and I want to see exactly... so when I press deploy, Inverted. Okay, so deployment angle. Incoming air is traveling straight across. It hits this. It produces lift in... deflects the air down and produces lift in the vertical upward direction. Okay, so if that's the case... If I pull back, these rotate, deploy in this direction, and these need to deploy in this direction to give us a direct... Okay, yeah, that is what we would need to do. So how do I get that done? So deploy direction, let's see. Is there a way to invert? I mean, yeah, inverted, but that doesn't really... Okay, let's leave that normal. Undeploy that. Same thing with this. This deploys upward, this deploys upward, this deploys downward. Downward. Is inverted? Normal? Okay, odd. Where is the center of mass? It is there. So past the center of mass, it would deploy the other direction. To rotate that way. Around the axis. Okay, yeah, that does make sense. I do like the way that looks. However, if I press S, and we can actually launch here again, if I press S, I don't think it looks like this. In fact, it does not look like this. So I don't know how to get that to work properly. That's interesting. It's an interesting idea. Something I will have to change for the future. So as far as landing stability, I am just going to have to land at, quite frankly, high speed. Not that it's necessarily an issue, it just becomes more difficult. Ironically, in a lot of ways, the actual Blackbird engines were similar to the way these functioned, in the way that they're also angled, which is funny, because the Blackbird engines actually look a little odd. Contracted and extended depending on the velocity of the plane. Ooh, gosh. It's bouncing. There we go. It's working over here. Man, what a world. So that ability here, so we can actually test this. Those angle down. These should angle up. Inverted. Is that an option I can choose? No? Okay. Interesting. I find that very odd. Deployment angle. So deploy. So if we deploy these, we invert it. Because it's rotating around the center of mass, these should be deploying like so. Oh gosh, this doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, odd. Put brakes out. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I have hydraulic lift. Interesting. Interesting problem. I don't have a solution for that problem. I don't know if Kerbal Space Program has a solution for that problem. Not that this is wrong per se, but it could be more right, if that makes sense. But we could also just remove these, because these are a bit far back on the leading edge. In fact, it's not really leading edge anymore at this point. It's essentially just an edge. I do need to check staging again. I need to modify that. I do need to also modify my rear wheel steering, and I also need to modify the control authority on all these control surfaces. So, let's throttle up and let's try this again to see where we are sitting with this. It is kind of a beautiful plane. I do like the way it looks. I think it looks very authentic in a way. Very similar dimensions, very similar, except for these sensor-mounted engines, but that is, you know, kind of a necessity at the moment. We are still not full Blackbird technology quite yet, although we are getting closer and closer constantly, which I do love. And even that front profile, look at that. That's a pretty beautiful looking system. So, yeah, that's pretty solid. So, we are going to do our actual, we are going to do our science here, and we are going to try to land back at the main runway, since I do need more physical landing space. I also really like how the engines gimbal so much. It looks pretty cool. Very, F-35-esque, to say the least, on the way these engines look. So we are pulling full vertical. We are getting very little movement out of this plane. Gosh, this is tough. Losing airflow. Don't like the sound of that. We are losing fuel flow. Don't like the look at that. We are losing thrust. We are going towards a stall. Oh boy. Here, let's do it this direction. Let's get out of the stall and change our... Uh-oh. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Turn in. Let's get out of this stall. We do not want to deal with that. Luckily, I do have thrust vectoring, which more or less solves a stall issue. As long as we have any amount of airspeed, we are A-okay. And we are kind of compressing here, not getting much lift out of our system. Let's slow down, see if we can get more lift. Wow. This plane is not very maneuverable. Interesting. Interesting. So let's remove these. And let's see what we can do for this. We might have to cheat the system a little bit, to be perfectly honest with you. There might be a couple modifications I can make here. If we... It's difficult. It's a difficult one. Okay, let me do this. Let me close that panel. Let me move this entire structure forward by a small amount. We're going to put some elevons here. Now, perfect for the situation. Aha! Angled, because the actual system is at an angle itself. We are going to rotate these the other direction, and this will give us a pretty solid line up. Now we're going to move this entire thing a little bit back to line it up perfectly. We're going to move these a little bit in, get rid of that black, and just like that, we do have some more command authority towards the front. Now, let's work on those other things I did say, right? So we need to get rid of the steering on the rear wheels. That is going to give us too much steering on the ground, which can be very dangerous. We are going to double check that all of these beautiful... We are going to do the same thing for the sensor-mounted ones. Perfect. And I believe that is all we had, I would like to say. And hopefully that solves our problem, because if not, that's what we need. Don't worry, we have some fancy orbital stations. If you want to check out how I put up the orbital stations to give us 24/7 science, take a look in the previous video. It is a very effective system I put in place, and if you want to do the same thing for your Kerbal Space Program playthrough, my friends, of which I'm gonna say this on this channel, we have one every day at 6 p.m. Definitely don't hesitate to look at that video. It's gonna be very helpful. And I didn't check staging again. Oh my god. Ugh. Awful. Okay, we are ignition in 3, 2, 1. Full throttle. We are rolling. I do like the look of that. That is good. Perfect. Oh boy. Okay. Here we are. Full back. Okay. At low speeds, I have plenty of command. Look at this. I can easily go vertical off the runway, no issue. As it turns out, however, at high speeds, this is not the best of systems. Okay, and quite frankly, I might need to... Here, let's actually do this. Deploy angle, deploy angle. Let's... Ooh. Oh. Negative 30. Interesting. Huh. Can I invert it that direction? Let's try it. How did that affect... Okay, that is much better. Much better. Okay. So this needs to be the opposite, correct? So let's deploy angle that the opposite direction. That does not do anything. Ah, what a weird system they put in place for this. So let's zero this out and see just how it affects. Angle, zero deploy angle. Interesting. Well, it is flying relatively well, as ridiculous as that front section looks. I'm not having any issues with the way it is flying. So let's turn around here. Let's try to do what we did last time and see if we fix the issue or not. And let's start this sooner than later. We do not want to have another really bad stall here. So let's try to get our nose down. Beautiful. Preferably no stall. We are going to get some airspeed, and we are going to start pulling upward. Here we go. Still a little bit on the sluggish side. It is a bit of a heavy plane, so I do get it. We are going to bring out our gear, and we are going to make sure we are fully lined up for this landing. We want a textbook landing here. Going to deploy air brakes. We are going to throttle back. We are going a bit fast. So substantial air brakes. Almost like parachutes, to be honest. Look at them go. Look at them go. I don't know if the real SR-71 Blackbird actually had air brakes or not. I imagine it did. Although I don't know where in the titanium skin they could have had the space for it, to be perfectly honest. It's, God, it's a difficult design to make. Okay, so we are more or less in line with the runway here. And we need to gain a little bit of altitude. We are dropping altitude way too quickly. Full throttle back. We need to put air brakes out to slow our velocity. And we can actually do some science here. Oh, pull up. Ooh, God, that almost killed me. Okay, let's put away the air brakes. Let's maintain our velocity high enough to keep vertical movement. We are going to press to deploy these shoots, and we are going to go for a touchdown here. Woo! Yeah, that's as much as I am getting out of that guy. That was a disaster. But, just like that, we have landed, my friends. Don't forget to take a look in the description, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, and I will see you guys in the next video tomorrow at 6 p.m. Be there or be square, my friends. See you guys later.